Welcome to our first ever NYFA conference. This is online. My name is Lingual and I am from Scape. This program is brought to you by Scape. Our program partners are Singapore International Film Festival, the National Youth Council, media partner MediaCorp, and this is a project supported by the LearnSG Seed Fund. So today we'll be talking about media scholarships, possibilities, and probabilities. It's interesting because we have, these past SGD media scholars who are going to come and share with us some of these tips and tricks, on the applications. They're going to be sharing some anecdotal experiences as well. If you have joined us in the morning and the afternoon, we've had some very, very exciting sessions. And if you have missed that, don't worry. The recording will be live, well, not live, but the recording will be streamed on YouTube. Okay, so you can still catch the session on YouTube. Now, the NYFA conference is brought to you by Scape. Our program partners are Singapore International Film Festival, that's SGIFF, the National Youth Council. Our media partner is MediaCorp, and this project is supported by the LearnSG Seed Fund. Okay. And so I think I've mentioned quite a fair bit about Scape already. Now, you may be familiar with some of our faces on today's panel. You see them on TV and on bus ads. Yes, the one with the palm. I'm talking about SGD Media Scholars. So let's introduce them. Okay, we have with us Lo Se-en, Singaporean BAFTA winner. We have Jonathan Chu, who is a NYFA winning film. Han has brought him to travel to notable film festivals worldwide. We have Ivan Tan, a writer-director whose first short film was awarded the Jury Prize at the 66th Locarno International Film Festival, the first for a Singaporean director. Last but not least, we have Dorcas Tan, Director of Human Capital Development from IMDA, who served as director in various government agencies and public policy roles. Today, she'll help us understand more about SGD media scholarships and how you can tap onto them.
Good afternoon, panelists. It'll be an exciting afternoon. I think when we name this special segment, Possibilities and Probabilities, we were always having in mind the whole expanse of what we can actually do with SGD scholarships, specifically media scholarships. I really thank everybody that has made time to actually come to this panel, because it was, I would say, quite difficult to get all the scholars in one place. Also reaching out and thank you to MDA for bringing on Dorcas. I think it's also a rarity to have IMDA here to actually shed some light on the the Singapore digital scholarships. First off, I mean, everybody would know that having a scholarship to study is both an opportunity and also an honor, and for filmmakers such as all of us, having the opportunity to study, something that you really love so much is also further it is also something that it's inexplicable. I mean, I think that this is really something that people need to understand, and people need to be able to appreciate, this kind of opportunities. So we would like to hear from the filmmakers too, and maybe also shed a bit of light on some helpful hints, maybe on how to apply or what kind of questions that they asked. But more importantly, how rewarding the experience was and how it has actually made you a better filmmaker, most importantly. Let me start off perhaps with Dorcas. If you could actually bring us through an overview and an update of the SG Media Scholarships. Dorcas, please.
Hi everyone. So the SGD scholarship was first launched in 2018. But if you look at it, it's not exactly a new scholarship. If you look at the history of IMDA, it came together as a merger of both IDA as well as MDA, where both organizations have industry scholarship. And what we have done is that we bring together the industry scholarship from both organizations, the tech scholarship as well as the media scholarship, including the MES scholarship, to be under one umbrella, one family, called the SGD scholarship. And besides doing that, we make enhancement to the scholarship. Essentially, now the MED scholarship is not only open to uni students, postgrad students, it is also open to poly students. And we also enhance the scholarship such that for those who are actually applying for local scholarship, they have opportunities to be go to for overseas internship or exposure program. So these are some of the new enhancement that we give to the new scholarship. Since the launch of this SGE scholarship, since the beginning, up to date, we have about more than 200 media scholarship given out. I think, and I'm happy to meet some of the existing scholars in this panel actually.
Nice. Perhaps we could actually talk a bit about the nitty-gritty technicalities. What's the I guess admission application calendar like, for a person that wants to actually apply for a scholarship? What does the calendar look like? Apply in January, wait for results in May, or what is it like?
Usually the scholarship will be launched in January and it closed in March. And then based on last year's this year's application, we get close to 1,000, about 30% media scholarship. So we are quite happy to see a quite sizable number of people who are applying for media scholarship. It shows their passion in this. So what they do is that they go to our IM Talent Portal website where they can make their application, and we also do the blast like through videos, our LinkedIn, Facebook. We blast out this information and encourage students to actually come on for this scholarship.
I think let's maybe turn the attention to our scholars here, to maybe dig out some application helpful hints. Really deciding to actually become a filmmaker is actually one big challenge already, I would say. And then the next step is deciding to actually go for a further education in film, and bringing along all its sacrifices and costs. I would really like to hear from all of you. Maybe Ivan, you can probably want to start off, the discussion. Ivan and I had a nice discussion over this. And I know that there's a lot of interesting nuggets on how he actually decided and the frustrations that he has actually, the thought processes and the frustrations that he has actually had. So maybe Ivan, you can maybe chat a bit about, this 4-letter word called film.
Yeah, thanks, John. So basically, my process for looking for film school pretty much started like a elimination process. I knew from the start that a more like author style film education would suit me better. And I also knew that I didn't want to spend too much time studying because this was going to be like my post-grad. And, just with these two, sort of like anchor points, I started looking at film schools. And very, very quickly, the American film schools, were just eliminated because apart from, say, Chicago School of the Arts or Cal Arts, I felt that the film education didn't suit what I was trying to pursue. And basically, yeah, that's how I just went about, just eliminating schools based on these two criteria. Yeah.
You also mentioned that you had to actually consider whether you wanted to do film because you were from Wiki Communication Studies, and taking the next step into film, you really had to think about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I went to mass comm in NTU, and actually very, very quickly I realized that was not the course for me, you see. But I come from a rich family, so I had to fulfill, certain obligations, I suppose, to my family. And back then, I really didn't know that I was going to become a filmmaker. That thought seemed so distant from me. And it was not, and because I come from Wiki, and School of Communications, and there was like a small group of filmmakers just trying to do their thing. We're just making it as we go along. No one really knows what they're doing. And it was not till tadpoles, that the thought of becoming a filmmaker, even like became a reality, if you may. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for those of you who are unsure of Tadpole, Tadpole was a short film made by Ivan, which actually opened doors, I think, for him and also for Singapore film when it was actually in Locarno Film Festival. And I mean, all of us who have seen it are very proud of it. I mean, kudos to Ivan for that. So would you say that, actually making the film gave you some sort of inspiration and surety that, okay, I'm seriously going to get this kind of education overseas? Was it a defining open moment, after making Tadpole?
Yes, I mean, while I was making tadpoles, I was in this phase of my life when all I could think of was cinema. Yeah. I was just watching films all the time, and I remember my ex-girlfriend then was still like really, she was frequently like very annoyed with me because she'll be telling me something and then I'm actually not there. I'm thinking about my script, and um and yeah, so I was thinking a lot about cinema, but not about being a filmmaker. Yeah. And in fact, even when I completed Tadpoles, I really wasn't sure what I had. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't sure until I got a phone call from Locarno, and that was just mind-blowing for me. And it just gave me assurance that, well, I was doing something interesting, but never ever did I even think of becoming a filmmaker until I actually came back from Locarno. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, you come from a long generation of film school, I would say. I mean, you're from film, sound and video, and then you went to ADM. It's easily like 7 years of film education in Singapore. Yeah. And the scholarship, you actually went over to do your master's in NFTS. So again, I'm trying to turn the attention to you because for Ivan, I mean, he was a communication student and, he had this epiphany, of a film education. But for yourself, you have gone through almost the rungs, from a poly education, 3 years, and then ADM, which is 4 years, and then now with, the masters. What was going on in your mind? I mean, it was almost like is it a third, venture into film education? Wouldn't you have wanted to maybe worked first or dabbled in some other things first? I mean, you really straight went through poly, ADM, and of course army, and then NFTS.
Yeah, I was actually quite adamant on going to work right after I graduate from NTU, but so I did not have any like preconception of wanting to do postgrad studies.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but for me it was because back when I was in NTU, my mentor supervisor was this gentleman called Paul Moody. Yeah, shout out Paul Moody. And yeah, and one afternoon he just asked me out for lunch, and then he was like, "Do you have any intention to do postgrad?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going to work after this because I've studied for 7 years for film. I thought it's enough already." But then he went, because he used to work in the NFTS before he came to Singapore. So he said, I think you should really go there to study. And can't really remember what he said, but he was saying along the lines of trying to make films on a more international kind of scale. And I was still a bit skeptical as well, because I was like, is it like trying to put this idea into my head, that kind. Then it's like, go overseas and it's going to be quite a huge thing. So the whole idea of going overseas has never occurred to me. And then he was like, you know what, let's just check out the application. Let's check out what's the deadline. Let's check and see. And then we went online together and see, and the deadline was that day. So I'm like, okay, there must be some kind of divine intervention in this kind of thing.
Possibly.
So I was like, okay, let's just try it. And at that point of time, I was in the editing process of Han as well. So there's a lot of things going on at the same time. But I had close to a fine cut at that point. So on that very day, then he's like, okay, go sign up all the application, get a reference letter from me, and then then another reference letter from Ben Shed. Shout out to Ben Shed as well. So I got it from them all in span of 2 days. I burned my film into a DVD, and then you package everything and you send it away lah. And then I was like, oh, but late application, how? They said, yeah, no worries lah. They wouldn't care that much. So I just did it lah, and without any like thought as well. So I just fill up, and then there's a lot of this questions you have to fill up as well. They ask you, so I just wrote in a very stream of consciousness way what I felt at that time. So it's a very intuitive process for me. So I signed up for that, and then the scholarship wasn't in my mind as well. It's only when, say, when I got the email from them, he's like, you got through to the second round. This is the final interview. Now I was like, oh, okay, things are probably getting a bit serious now.
This just got real.
Yeah, things just got real. Yeah. So at that point of time, then I decided to apply for the scholarship.
Was it a very concerted decision to like, okay, now that I've gotten, close to entry, basically this is really a real thing. Oh, my consideration is maybe affordability, and therefore you thought of the SGD scholarship?
A little bit of that as well, definitely, because it's it's not easy to go there trying to self-sustain. So the scholarship was a really big help in that regard. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk a bit about maybe the form of study, because I think Jonathan and Ivan both studied the fiction directing in NFTS. Seren a bit different. Seren went on to do, I think, producing. And again, Seren's call to doing her masters and doing it in NFTS is also perhaps quite interesting from a producing perspective, because again, what you do as producer and a director can be a bit different. Maybe Seren, you talk a bit about, show us and let us follow through your thought process also, just like what we have with Ivan and Jonathan.
Okay. Hi everyone. Okay, so similar to Ivan, I did a bit of an elimination process, but I have to say that I did not research well enough. I will tell you later on why. So I wanted to go to NFTS because I heard about it through a few people from a few people that I was working with. I was working in a British company at the time. It's like a double negative visual effects company. So I wanted to go to the UK to learn more about the film industry there. So just nice, NFTS seems like the best film school there. So I decided to apply. And also because I was talking to a few people around the film industry at the time, and they were saying that, okay, if I really want to do producing in Singapore back then, there were only 5 creative producers, and Joan being one of them. And so I actually took Joan's producing class in uni. That's when I know more about producing. But luckily, right now in Singapore, there are definitely a lot more than 5 creative producers. So, but back then there were only 5. So they were saying that, okay, if I want to really learn more about producing on a global level, I have to go out of Singapore. So I looked around a bit in some of the US schools and also the UK schools, but decided to go to UK. So yeah, I didn't do like as much research as I should have. So I will comment a bit on that later, which is after I graduated, what I found out. Yeah.
Okay.
But what I like about the NFTS producing program is that it's very hands-on. You get to produce a lot of films when you're there. So we made 3 films, And we also did a business module where we learned about the UK and European film industry. I think if you had gone to a film school in the US, it's a lot more business. There's less like hands-on producing where you work on the projects. Yeah. In the UK system, you learn more like production management and all of that. Oh yeah, one thing to comment on, maybe John and Ivan can chip in as well, is that compared to NTU, the UK system is very different because it's very like handheld and a bit controlling. Because in NTU you have a lot of different modules and electives and all of that. You can set your own pace, like what you want to study. But the UK, they determine all the schedule for you. Yeah, so you cannot choose what you want to learn. They select for you.
Quite ironic that UK education system appears to be more stringent than the Singapore system. But I mean, from the products of it, it sounds like it's actually pretty effective, I must say. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that NFTS is the only place. It just so happens that our scholars here now, currently the three of them, have chosen NFTS. I mean, no doubt about it, it's a very, very prestigious school. We have a lot of Singapore filmmakers that have actually graduated from there. Okay. I think maybe let's bring this topic down back to maybe Dorcas on the IMDA side. From the IMDA perspective, what do you look for in actually awarding a scholarship to an individual?
I think beyond the grades, I think what we actually look for is a strong passion or interest in the subject they are pursuing. Because I think if you were to go to study and even after you graduate, it's the passion and the interest that will actually bring you throughout your career. SGD scholarship would be a stepping stone. It's a means to help you achieve your passion and your profession in this area. But so when you go for a scholarship interview, I think you must be prepared to be confident of what you have, because for you to be shortlisted for interview, it is really a very, very among so many people. You must be very confident that you have done well, and you must be confident to share with us. Be ready to share about your portfolio, whatever you have, because that gives us an indication that you're not doing this just for getting stipends for your education, but you're doing this because you're truly passionate about it and truly interested in this. Be honest and be yourself. Share, because we really want to know you as a person, and through the interview, by speaking more about yourself, you will know about your values, your character, and so on and so forth. So these are the key things that we looked out for. So for portfolio-wise, we involve industry panels who will assess. So it's not really about number of projects, but really about the quality of projects that you bring forth as well in your portfolio.
Let's talk a bit about thanks, Dorcas. Let's talk a bit about portfolio, and I think there's a resounding answer to that, but I just want it to be echoed. I mean, among all the three of you filmmakers here, would you think that the portfolio for a filmmaker is important?
I'm not too certain about the IMDA side, but I can comment about, let's say, getting into the film school, the NFTS.
Okay.
Yeah. So so for the directing course, I know for sure the portfolio is very important, because they really evaluate on the director's portfolio, and I think they look at the portfolio and they went through a few series of interviews. But for the producer's course, they didn't really look at our past films, but instead we had to submit a lot of essays, and after that we have to write about 5 to 7 essays for the application.
Wow.
And then, when we go over to the UK, we have to do like a 1 week Shark Tank program. It's like a selection program. So it's like very competitive. So every day they put us through some competition. So before the 1 week Shark Tank, we have to watch 7 films and also read 1 feature film script. And so when we are over there, they will pit us against each other to argue it out, like why you like this film, why you don't like this film. So
Wow.
we had 5 days of that before we were accepted into the producing program.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, really sounds like Shark Tank. Training for the future sharks of producing. Was it the same in the selection process as a director? I think it's I mean, Seren mentioned you have to show your portfolio, but I think you have some opportunities to probably talk about it or defend it. Anybody, Ivan or Jonathan?
Portfolio wise, sorry, the question is about like the portfolio we submitted.
Yeah, what did you have to do with your portfolio when you actually faced basically the evaluation process at NMTS?
Well, we had to submit a portfolio. I submitted one film, just tadpoles, and then there was like a statement of intent that you have to submit, and then we also had to submit like a short film idea. So these were the three things. I had made other like little shorter works prior to tadpoles, but I chose not to send it because I think curation is important. You know, less is more. Yeah, you just let the work, speak for itself, because you have to consider, and I only knew this much later on, that there are like 3,000 applicants for directing alone, So how do you shine? How do you stand out from that? I mean, that's something to think about. But after that, when I was told that I made it to the next round, I basically sat through a panel where various tutors and industry people were really, really questioning me about my film. Like every single decision I made, from the color to the light to the story, and it was even down to the frame. It was very, very impressive. Like these people, I mean, I have no idea how they managed this, but they just remember everything from my film, and it was about, I think we spoke for almost past 1 hour, yeah. And I don't see it as like a defending your film. I mean, these people were genuinely curious, to know how you thought as a filmmaker, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add, Jonathan?
Same thing as Ivan. I only sent Han because, as far as I remember, I think they only asked you to send one film. And when you get in through to the interview, that's all they pretty much talk about it, actually. They ask you why you go with this decision. They tell you what you like about it. And then the rest is very little. The short film intent, I just submitted something that I actually done before. I take a synopsis and put it in. I no time really. Yeah, so I just filled that in. And the fun fact is, I actually flew to UK for the interview. And on the way to the interview, I met Ivan for the first time.
Yes, John came into me while I was on the way to school. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
So you had a kind of like insider information.
No, I mean, he just told. I can't remember much of what happened. He just told me, "Oh, hello, are you Ivan?" And I was like, "I don't know this guy." Like,
Oh my god, I have a funny story as well. So you know how Singaporeans, we like to take leaves, right? So in the school, let's say in NTU and ADM, there's a lift. So we take the lift every day. In fact, I don't even know where's the stairs in NTU. So, but in the film school in the UK, there's only one lift. So I'm one of the few people who will still take the lift. So then there's one day I heard from somebody that there's another Singaporean guy at the film school. So I was like, who? Then after that, I stepped into the lift. I saw another person. Then that person turns out to be the Singaporean filmmaker.
Small world. We can't escape.
World.
Interesting. I mean, again, short of making this NFTS publicity, I think the thing that I guess we all value is, the education that we have actually been put forth. We have some interesting questions here, and some of them are repeats. Maybe one of them, okay, we'll take them maybe later, but I want to bring the questions, I guess, back to Dorcas from the IMDA perspective again. We have the applications, we have the interviews, we award the scholarships, the scholar goes overseas and comes back. How beyond coming back and beyond, does IMDA have any other plans, after grooming a scholar?
So I think one of the advantage of SGD scholarship, being an industry scholarship, is that we have changed the model of it. In the past, where they are supposed to choose there's a list of company they choose from, and before they go to study. But right now, what the scholar can do is that they go for the studies and indicate the organization they wish to join. But the job must be in relation to what they study. For example, in this case, in media sector, they join the media sector or do a media role. So for that, there's a lot of flexibility compared to if you were to take other scholarship where the organization you join is made known to you from the very beginning. Apart from that, we also proactively share with them about internship or job opportunities, tied up with other organizations like with BFI and so. And in IMDA, you can also take up what the apprenticeship course, we have Writers Lab and all, like Adeline Fu was one of our scholars who actually went on to go on a Writers Lab and then and also thereafter produced the last method. So I think there are opportunities out there, courses that you can take. We are more than happy to fund for courses certification that you are beyond the curriculum that is there.
So I mean, let's come back to the scholars here. I know it's been a few years already, but are there any helpful hints you can share with the attendees of NYFA conference on how you actually prepared for the scholarship interview, or maybe even some specific questions that they have asked you? I think this would probably be quite valuable in terms of having this insight on how to actually get the scholarship. Anybody will want to actually share that, if you guys remember?
I only remember one question, and they asked is, do you want to make award-winning films or films that make money?
Wow, really? Okay, interesting.
Just reply
What was
both.
the answer?
Just reply both. And that's it. Yeah.
How did you elaborate on that? I'm sure the elaboration is the one that helped you.
Find a balance of the best is, of course, the ideal case is you can make a film that has both. So just be idealistic. I think idealism is rather important in the interview, and also being yourself. Being yourself and maintain your point of view as well. Yeah. They'll ask questions. I think another question asked was, what will you do if you don't have this scholarship?
Oh, a classic.
Yeah. And just say, I need it.
Ivan, how about you? What do you remember from your IMDA scholarship interview?
Yeah, I mean, I remember them asking me the second question, what will you do if you don't have this scholarship? And I just said, I'll continue making films, nothing's going to stop me, and I feel like even though I wanted it very, very badly, I think I did show, I didn't need to try to like show the panel how much I wanted it, because for me, it was like, even if I had gotten into an NFTS, I would have needed the scholarship because I just simply don't have the funds to go for an education like that. But even if I didn't get the scholarship, I'll continue making films. And I feel like if you look at a film school and a film education as a prerequisite to becoming a filmmaker, then I think you really need to like rethink why you want to even go to a film school to begin with.
Yep.
Yeah, I really agree with Ivan. Like that, because I think it's really important to ask yourself, like, if you don't have the scholarship, what would you do? Because the first year of NFTS, I didn't get the scholarship. So we applied the scholarship and the film school at the same time. So when before I knew whether I got into the film school, I knew that I didn't get the scholarship. So actually, when I received the acceptance, it was like the worst day of my life, because on one hand, I'm like, oh, I got into NFTS after all this Shark Tank thing, but then I don't have the money to go. So what do I do? So so it took me, and I only have like 5 days to decide. So I decided. So I spoke to my parents, and then we decided to like So I used my savings, and then I took some loans and decided to just go there for like a year and try to apply for the scholarship the next year, because I think I really want to be a part of this program. Yeah, and like learn producing overseas. That's why I decided to go anyway.
So you actually made a conscious decision to say, okay, never mind, without the scholarship, I will still go.
Yeah, so it's like when I was there, so it's really 走一步算一步 lah. So I will eat like a porridge with a pack of pork floss and that my mom bought for me at the airport. So my first year was not easy. But after I got the scholarship, so my second year was better. Yeah. And then I also did some part-time work in the UK, like work at the bar and get some like money every on some of the nights.
Okay, so that's really driving it really to the point that you really need this kind of I mean, again, I always say passion is an overused word, but this kind of drive and this kind of madness and this kind of focus. I mean, I think that's really commendable, and I mean, very, very cool thing. Has this opportunity changed you as a filmmaker? Yes, no, and why?
I think definitely, it definitely changes you. But the thing is, when you come back, it's you restart again. So and I think that's what filmmaking is about. It doesn't mean that you know it's like to greener pastures and higher pursuits. It's like you come back, because again, back in Singapore, it's a different environment again. You know, of course, you come back as a much clearer, a filmmaker, much clearer with what your voice is and what you want to do, having been there, making films in that environment and experimented in various different ways. And then you come back, and because before you go there, you are a certain sort of filmmaker as well. So all this shapes you into a different kind of person. But then when you come back here, you know, having to work and everything, that's a different thing again. You sort of have to start from, at least for a director, you know, because it's another different system, and then you have to navigate here.
But the value add in terms of the education is more personalized.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of lifelong knowledge that it stays with you. Primarily, I think it changes your perception of seeing things, different experiences that you gain there, and is embedded in me, at least for this time being. And I also think the experiences that you go through there also, you know, that itself, outside of the school, that staying in another country, you know, having to go through sometimes literal hunger, you know, all these kind of things, it goes hand in hand, your filmmaking life and your own life as well. Yeah.
Would Ivan, would you echo that, or you know, you have a different experience?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with John, and I think change is you definitely go through change, but the question is, what do you do with it, right? Like, we're changing every day, we are growing every day, and I think that my time in the UK was some of the best years of my life, really, because I could actually work anonymously. You know, in the UK, I am not accountable to anybody, family, friends, and I could really just dive into my work, and that's a kind of focus which I find very hard to replicate back in Singapore. That's why I wholeheartedly agree with John. You know, the school is one thing, but being abroad, it's another thing. You know, and being able to just really focus on your craft, you know, and to become a filmmaker is very precious. Yeah, because I mean, thankfully for the scholarship, you know, most of the money sort of issue has been solved. Even though we are still poor, you know, we still need to find a way to like find money for our expenses, but at least that bit of the equation is solved. And
piece of it out of your mind, lah.
It's out of our mind because, you know, we have classmates in NFTS that have kids, that are married, you know, they are putting everything, you know, show hand, yeah. They're putting everything on the table to make this work, and they constantly have to think of money and how to make ends meet. Whereas people like us, you know, scholars, we're much more fortunate in that way, yeah. So, but coming back is tough, yeah. Coming back was very, very difficult for me, and I think John and I have spoken about this. Simply because it's tough. The kind of work that you know I want to do is not readily found here. You know, it's tough. Like, it's not that I want to be picky, but I feel that I am fiercely protective of my work. You know, and I feel that, and I've seen in the people that have come before me, you know, how many people can get simply lost, you know. You can go to the best film school, you can be like a very talented filmmaker, but you can come back to Singapore and really, really lose your way. Because, you know, we are operating in a different environment, a different society, and there are different pressures on the filmmaker, you know? In fact, on every individual, yeah.
Anything to add, Sir? I mean, again, the producer's track is a bit different.
I agree with Ivan. Like, I mean, when you travel over there, you're adapting to a new culture, and when you come back, you are again adapting to another culture. So it's like 2 times culture shock, man. So in fact, what I think is very valuable is the personal growth. It's not just learning the film skills in the UK or whatever, but really living in a different culture and starting anew again, and coming back and starting anew again. Like that, there's a lot of personal growth in there, and you struggle a lot, but you really gain a lot from all of that. And you also realize that how privileged you are as a Singaporean. As in, I mean, then you grow a lot of empathy. So having the empathy is important as a filmmaker, like understanding cultures like this anthropology, psychology, and all of that will really inform the work that you do. Yeah.
Very well, very, very nicely put. I think, everybody needs to have some empathy in show business, especially. We have quite a lot of interesting questions, and one that keeps recurring is actually, excuse me, a question about whether or not the SGD scholarship has a bond. Perhaps Dorcas, would you like to maybe shed some light on that?
I actually took a quick look at all the some of the questions, but so I thought I would address some. So
Sure.
The SGD scholarship is not just for overseas. I know all 3 of the candidates here spoke about overseas, but there's local scholarship. So for undergrads and postgrads, there's bond. For poly scholarship, there's no bond. Do we value what kind of skills or I think there's some question about expertise to the media sector. And so far it's the media course that contributes to the media sector or the filmmaking, it would be considered as part of the SGD scholarship. So I mean, it can go as broadly as UX, UI design as well, and graphic design.
We're jumping straight into the questions in the interest of time. There's another question about age. You know, does age play a part in the decision making for IMDA's scholarship? Dorcas.
No, I think the students come in all ages. Actually, we have people with. I've not seen a 40-year-old one, but I think that people who are in the 30s and 20s and as young as people from just off O levels and going to the poly as well. So they're all ages.
Okay. There's a question from Tan Heng Han. He's a lecturer in Ngee Ann Poly. We all know him, those of us who are smiling. So he's asking this question to Dorcas. How do you look at passion? I mean, passion's a pretty complex word, but it's been always used to describe the creative industry. So what's the evaluation of passion? if you could speak openly.
Well, I think it's so. Besides whatever you're going to do in a curriculum, do you show interest or take up courses or do certain things that is like, for example, filmmaking or anything that shows that you are interested in this area? I think Ivan, Sir Ern, Jonathan has shown, like, regardless whether I have scholarship or not, I'm going ahead with whatever I am set up to do. It shows a very clear I mean, it's really like a determination and commitment to something that they're very interested in, and this is something that we are, the so-called X factor we are looking for each of the candidates.
Let's check out the questions. Scholarships available for short programs. Can they be taken together with Skills Future? You know, yeah. Dorcas, would you like to maybe answer that?
IMDA has a short course program. You can it's all available in IM Talent portal. You can go there to check out. There are grants to take out short course. There are also what we call the like apprenticeship. Lab apprenticeship that is for fresh grads. Then they will go through a 12 months program with industry as well. We also have writers lab. We also have producers lab with some with a collaboration with BFI to do some filmmaking as well.
This is a question from Jin Ming. Hello, Jin Ming. He has a question for the scholars. What would be a good representation of a best film school in overseas, and how is it different from our own country's film studies or theoretical knowledge? Sounds like a John question.
I mean, later Ivan can speak about it also. I think because it's very different in like, for example, going to NFTS as well. NFTS is a school very embedded with the industry there, UK industry. So I think the one key thing that I saw there was this system very embedded in filmmaking lineage. Yeah, over there. So it has one foot into the UK industry. A lot of people like Roger Deakins is from there, and a lot of other filmmakers, the guy who did Harry Potter, and many other different, like Lynn Ramsey and everything. So you see the whole industry kind of there's a connection there. And at the same time, the UK industry itself is some sort of special relationship with the American industry. So there's links in that sense, and when you are there as well, and especially I think for the directors that are based in the UK, when they get into the school, I think they are already thinking like, okay, when I graduate, you know, what is my next step? You know, maybe I want to, with my short film, I get signed to an agent, and then, you know, I get a directing gig on a TV show, and then over there I develop my feature. There's all these routes to go to. But obviously,
think of it as a career. Sorry,
correct.
Dave. Think of it like a career kind of thing.
Yeah, like a friend of mine in my course, you know, he made a film, got a Student Academy Award nomination, got a Bronze Award, and then he got signed, and then he's onto one path, that kind. Whereas for us, you know, we come back here, then we figure ourselves out as filmmakers making local Singapore cinema, you know. So it's taking that knowledge back, that worldview back here. Yeah.
Sern or Ivan would like to add? What is the difference?
I've not been to film school in Singapore, so I can't comment on like film school experience in Singapore, but the experience in the UK for the directors was, you know, we had a very workshop-based curriculum. we only know what we're going to do next week, like on Friday, yeah. And part of it was very, very fun and exciting for me, you know. And I think that I think the school acknowledges that there's no formula for a good film. Yeah, but there are key principles, and that they try to, that different directors that they ask to come in, they specialize in. So, for instance, there will be a director who's really, really interested in performance, or someone who's very like more commercial, and he or she will be very good at doing like ensemble scenes. So different principles in filmmaking, and I think that NFTS, acknowledges that, and that's what's exciting for me. And I think the other thing which the school really does, exemplify is that actually filmmaking is a craft. That there are no rules again to a good film or how we can make a good film, but we can equip ourselves with certain skills, that can help us, increase our chances of making a good film. But ultimately, it's a mysterious thing, and the thing of good films is more than just craft. It's a lot about the filmmaker and what he or she creates with his or her team. And that's mysterious. No one knows about that. Yeah.
Okay, let's have another question from the chat group. And it's an interesting portfolio question for the scholars here. Regarding the portfolio selection for specific modules like directing or producing, how important is it to tailor the portfolio specifically for it? So, for example, if we are looking into an international school specializing in directing, should we still branch out and experience other roles, or solely just hone on to that specific role?
Yeah, if you want to be a director, then you should apply for directing lah. And if you want to be a cinematographer, you apply for cinematography. And as for the portfolio, I think the best way to go about it is really make films that you want to make and represent what you are as a filmmaker and your sensibilities, rather than tailor, because there's no particular like anything to tailor to, because they are really looking at the voice behind, rather than an impression of something.
I think one way to kind of ask the question also is, we were talking earlier about variety of roles and the youth being adaptable, right? So I think maybe the question's from Bing actually. Hi Bing. The question from Bing is actually, if I were to want to go for a directing course, or rather I want to be a director, should I actually do other crafts to show in my portfolio, or should I just concentrate on directing? Would you still stand the case in that sense, Jonathan? So if I want to direct, I'll just do directing as a portfolio.
The key is you have a film. One film that you directed.
Okay. So again, it's quality, not quantity, lah.
Yeah.
And
with NFTS as well, I think they are not very. It's either you have like 2 years working in the industry, or like you had a degree before. So you actually have some people like my course mates, they come from a philosophy degree, and they just happen to make shots out of in their own time, and they applied to the school, and they got in. So the key is you directed a shot and you apply with it.
Okay, this question is for Sir Eun actually. Which is more validating to you? Getting into NFTS, getting the scholarship, or winning the BAFTA? Or did none of these change your perspective on your abilities?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually typing as you.
Already,
I'm going to reply. Okay, I was going to say that something that we'll learn, right, is that you cannot structure your life around being validated by others lah. Because
Awesome.
to be honest, like winning a BAFTA or like getting into NFTS actually did not change my life very much in Singapore, especially. So some people don't even know what's a BAFTA, and a lot of people don't know what's NFTS. It didn't help me get like more chances of being funded for a film that I like. So is you still have to work hard. You still have to like really keep going because you have that passion. So you cannot let other people validate you. Yeah.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, I'm still insecure most of the time, so there's still a long way to go.
Okay, okay. There are actually many questions on the, I guess, the mechanics of, you know, how to apply and how to qualify. I would like to get everybody to, you know, redirect their attention to IMDA's website, which is imtalent.sg/scholarships. I think most of the questions, you know, when and how, graduate, postgraduate, bond, qualification, skills, craft, age, I think will be answered there. But in any case, I mean, further to the website, I'm very sure that, you know, there's a contact point that's available on the website. Interestingly, there's a question on animation. If I'm not wrong, have there been scholarships given to what's animation talent? Dorcas, any idea?
I think the answer is yes, but I don't have the details with me now. And we also consider that as part, if the question is whether I'm thinking about going into animation, can I apply for a scholarship? The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. I think we hope that this can be sort of like a thinking point for a lot of the youths who want to actually pursue film and want to actually apply for the scholarship. One, I guess, rounding out question I want to ask for a lot of you is whether or not, I mean, again, looking at all the education that you had, on hindsight, right, even if you didn't get the scholarship, would you have gone and continued? Anyone would like to elaborate? I mean, let's demonstrate this form of determination and passion, because again, this is really something, I mean, I echo this too, from IMDA and also yourselves as filmmakers, that, you know, your drive and determination to be a filmmaker has to be there, scholarship or not.
For me, if without, I think I would still have went. I would be left with a very empty pocket, and but the good thing is that didn't happen as well. Even with the scholarship, after you go there already, your daily expenses is also another challenging thing, and you are fighting with that all the time. And it's really like rents and everything you consider is also, it's very different from here. You feel actual coldness and hunger. There will be days that all you think about is what I'm going to eat for lunch and dinner. I can't wait to cook right now. So, and these are emotions and feelings you would hardly feel over here, that kind. So that also affects you as a filmmaker over there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a question from Dilraj. Hello, Dilraj. Interesting perspective. I would like maybe, you know, Sir or Ivan to answer this, right? It's about craft, right? Directors like Zack Snyder and David Fincher came from making music videos. What is different about the route they took? Can it be applicable to us? Is music videos a way for us to venture out instead of a film education, or instead of, you know, a film scholarship?
Why not?
Right.
You find your own way, really. All of us have our own ways. And I think that the most important thing is that you must build conviction, you know, and you build that conviction through whatever ways you can find. You know, some people make like music videos, some people make commercials, some people, you know, go and take a philosophy degree. For me, I just made films, you know, because I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I just needed to do it. And it was not until, and I actually didn't believe myself for a long time until, like, you know, people told me, and that, you know, and the film festival told me, you know, all these things told me, I never believed, which is why this conviction is so important. Because once you have this conviction, I think like you will make a film no matter what. So yeah, and to go back to the question, I mean, about like whether or not I would have gone without the scholarship, I wouldn't have gone, yeah, if I didn't get a scholarship. It didn't make any sense, yeah, to me to burn 100,000 like on top of expenses on a film and education.
But you would have continued to make films, right?
I would have continued to make films, yeah, because I feel that freedom is so important, you know, and it's not just freedom of the mind, but financial freedom is very important. I don't see how I can be making films if you know, after 2 years I come back and I'm worrying about like, you know, a crazy debt that I have to get rid of, you know.
Very true. Maybe just one question to squeeze in. Does studying overseas and getting the scholarship help with networking? And how do you get back into the industry after graduating?
So you want to answer that? So quite a lot of network.
I would say it's a challenge for a lot of film students that I know who have gone overseas to study and try to come back. I mean, I've known certain filmmakers who have had that problem because they didn't study film in Singapore, and when they come back, they don't know where to begin their careers.
Okay, maybe firstly to answer, to just add on to what Ivan said. So when you go overseas to study, like debt is an issue lah. So I came back with some debt as well. That took me about 2 or 3 years of working to clear. So that's something you have to consider when you want to study overseas. So like what is it do you really get out of it? And for me, I think the network is something that's very important. It's something that perhaps money can't buy you that. So it's only living in that country and meeting people there that can give you a network. So I think especially in filmmaking, like it's all about networking, and no one is going to look at your CV and say, okay, you've been to NFTS, you get a job. That doesn't happen. So it's most people get hired through knowing people, or like knowing somebody's friend or somebody or something like that. So coming back to Singapore, as I said, there's like another culture shock. So I have to re-assimilate into the industry here and meet people here again. And so there are a lot of events like organized by Scape or like NYFA or like even SGIFF that you have to attend to go and meet people in the industry and learn what are the trends here, who are the new filmmakers that are coming up in the industry. So all of that is important, and it's hard work that you have to do. Yeah, so honestly, going to the film school is not going to be the answer to your life. There's still a lot of hard work that you have to put in.
Great, very cool. I mean, with that, let me kind of close and summarize the session. I think very valuable to actually realize that, you know, while the opportunities are open via the scholarship, I think it's a lot of decisions you have to make yourself, you know, whether you want to be a filmmaker or not. Overseas education seems to actually really test your personal growth. It is also about your conviction to becoming and making films. I'm hearing that, and hearing a lot about filmmaking being a craft, not necessarily an art, but a craft to equip you with the skills to actually make films. And of course, you know, last but not least, is really about IMDA's SGD scholarship having more opportunities, I would say, to apply for a scholarship now, because again, you know, Dorcas, correct me if I'm wrong, it's now even open to polys and also undergrads in the local sphere, and also other crafts under, you know, the media filmmaking framework, so to speak. So if that's something that we can all shed light on and ponder, I think we have actually succeeded. So please join me in thanking all the speakers, Sern, Ivan, Jonathan, and of course Dorcas, to find some time on a Friday afternoon to share this. We will probably reflect on, you know, giving the IMDA website to you again because again, for a lot of mechanical questions, that's where you find the answers.